Part 1. The Sky Falls. It began not with a bang, but a whisper. A meteor burning bright streaked across the night sky. It looked like a falling star, a celestial spectacle. But this was no silent visitor, this was a harbinger of doom. It crashed into the dense, unforgiving heart of the Amazon rainforest. The impact was hidden by the thick canopy, a secret buried in the earth. Days passed. The world continued, oblivious, unaware of the ticking time bomb nestled deep within the jungle. The meteor, now a smoldering crater, held a deadly secret. A virus, alien and ancient, pulsed within its heart. The virus, eager to spread, found its first victims. Monkeys, curious and unsuspecting, drew close to the crash site. They inhaled the dust, a cocktail of extraterrestrial pathogens. They were infected. The virus, however, was slow. It didn't kill its host. Instead, it twisted it from within. The zombie monkey apocalypse had begun. Part 2. Silent spread. The virus spread silently, invisibly. It moved through the rainforest like a phantom, riding on the backs of infected insects carried by the wind. The monkeys, now twisted mockeries of their former selves, began to spread. Driven by an insatiable hunger, they attacked anything that lived. Birds, reptiles, rodents, all fell prey to the infected hordes. The jungle, once teeming with life, grew quiet. The first signs were subtle. Missing pets, unexplained animal carcasses, strange guttural noises echoing from the depths of the rainforest. Locals, accustomed to the jungle's rhythms, felt the shift. They spoke of a creeping dread, a growing unease, but their warnings were dismissed. Superstitions, some said, old wives' tales, others scoffed. They would learn too late that the jungle held secrets best left undisturbed. The virus was patient. It had all the time in the world. Part 3, First Bite. The first human victim was a logger working deep in the heart of the rainforest. He had dismissed the stories as folklore, local superstition, until the day a crazed monkey, its eyes glowing with unnatural hunger, lunged at him. Its bite, fueled by the virus, was swift and brutal. The virus didn't discriminate. It didn't care for race, religion, or creed. It only craved to replicate, to spread. The logger's transformation was swift and horrifying. His skin turned a sickly green. His eyes became bloodshot and wild. His cries for help turned into animalistic snarls. His fellow loggers, horrified, tried to contain him. They soon learned that the virus had turned him into something else, something monstrous. Part 4, Rainforest Rampage. The Amazon rainforest, once a symbol of life, became a death trap. Hordes of infected monkeys, driven by an insatiable hunger, rampaged through the dense foliage. Villages were overrun, their inhabitants either infected or fleeing for their lives. The once familiar sounds of the rainforest, the chirping of insects, the calls of birds, were replaced by the guttural snarls of the infected. Rescue teams, sent in to assess the situation, were met with scenes of unimaginable horror. The lucky ones never made it out of the rainforest. Their screams, echoing through the dense foliage, served as a chilling reminder of the virus's brutal efficiency. The jungle, once a source of life-giving oxygen, now exhaled terror. The rainforest had become a no-man's land. Part 5, Global Panic. The virus, no longer confined to the rainforest, spread like wildfire. It hitched rides on planes, ships, trucks, anything that moved. Panic gripped the globe. Cities became choked with fear. Supermarkets were ransacked. Streets were deserted, and the world held its breath. The news, a constant barrage of grim updates and horrifying images, only fueled the hysteria. Governments, caught off guard, scrambled to react. Borders were closed, quarantines were imposed, but it was too little, too late. The virus, a silent and invisible enemy, had already infiltrated every corner of the globe. The world was at war with an enemy it didn't understand, an enemy it couldn't reason with. The infected, driven by their primal urges, attacked with terrifying ferocity. The world watched in horror as the virus, a grim equalizer, brought humanity to its knees. Part 6. Fight or Flight. Humanity, faced with extinction, did what it does best. It fought back. With a ferocity born of desperation, people took up arms. They fought for their lives, for their loved ones, for their very survival. The streets became battlegrounds, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder and fear. But the enemy was relentless, driven by an insatiable hunger that knew no bounds. The world was a patchwork of chaos and resistance. Some fled to remote areas, hoping to escape the infected hordes. Others barricaded themselves in their homes, armed to the teeth. Governments, struggling to maintain order, established quarantine zones, desperate to contain the spread of the virus. But the virus was a ghost, slipping through the cracks, defying containment. The initial wave of infection was the hardest. Cities fell, overrun by hordes of the infected. Part 7. The Walls We Build. As the initial shock subsided, humanity began to regroup. Walls were erected, quarantines enforced with ruthless efficiency. The living envied the dead, for the dead were no longer at risk. Every resource was poured into research, a desperate search for a cure, a vaccine, anything to stem the tide of the infected. Scientists worked around the clock, driven by a shared sense of urgency. The fate of humanity, they knew, rested on their shoulders. Communities, once defined by borders and ideologies, banded together for survival. The strong protected the weak, the skilled shared their knowledge. Humanity, stripped bare by the crisis, rediscovered the power of unity, the importance of compassion. The world was a different place now. Scarred, yes, but not broken. The human spirit, tenacious and resilient, refused to be extinguished. Part 8. Adapt to survive. Survival became a grim science. People learned to identify the warning signs of infection, to avoid contact, to fight only when necessary. The world adapted. Cities, once bustling hubs of commerce and culture, became fortresses, heavily defended against the infected hordes. Resources were carefully rationed. Every bullet counted, every drop of clean water precious. New technologies emerged, born out of necessity. Drones patrolled the skies, their cameras scanning for signs of infected activity. Hazmat suits, once the domain of scientists, became commonplace. Life as we knew it had changed irrevocably, but amidst the ruins, a new kind of society was emerging, a society forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by loss, yet fueled by an unwavering will to survive. The world may have changed, but humanity endured. Part 9. What Doesn't Kill Us. The zombie monkey apocalypse was a wake-up call. It exposed our vulnerabilities, our arrogance, It reminded us that we are but one species on a planet full of wonders and terrors. The virus, an unwelcome visitor from the stars, forced us to confront our own mortality. It showed us that the greatest threat to our survival is often ourselves. But it also revealed the best of humanity: courage in the face of fear, ingenuity in the face of adversity, compassion in the face of suffering. We learned that we are stronger together, that our differences pale in comparison to our shared humanity. The zombie monkeys didn't destroy us, they made us stronger. The fight is far from over. The virus is still out there lurking in the shadows, but we are no longer the same people we were before. We are survivors.